Now, viewers, for 3 decades or more, there has been a conspiracy of silence. A conspiracy of silence abetted by chroniclers of our history, abetted by the political establishment, even elements in the media. And this conspiracy of silence has denied Kashmiri Hindus justice. One of the individuals who's played a part in this movie, Mr. Prakash Belawadi, is here with us. And Mr. Belawadi, let me just put this into context for our viewers. You're not part of the BJP ecosystem. You, in fact, are anything but part of the larger extension of the Sangh's outlook. In fact, you are what many people would today call a liberal, part of a lobby, as they would say. So I just want to ask you, in the context of that, you've apologized for your silence during your time as a journalist in 1990 when this genocide happened in Jammu and Kashmir. What prompted this apology?
See, I was a journalist. I was working for Sunday, at that time between 1988 and 1990, I worked for Sunday magazine. And I was a political correspondent. Of course, I was stationed in Bangalore. But, I was part of the journalism network, and I was in a position to find out stuff. And, we all that time looked to do exclusive stories and important stories. So it seems shocking that I wasn't awakened to this. I didn't think it was important enough. I can say that, we didn't know all the facts. I mean, I met a superintendent of police, retired person yesterday at the screening. And he said, I'm an IPS guy and, but I didn't know too, so you shouldn't feel so bad. But I feel very bad because I was in a position to find out at least, but I didn't. And even subsequently, I haven't done anything about it. So when I read the script, I felt terrible because the first thing I did was to check if this was indeed true. And I found out the events that are shown in the movie are actually not as brutal as the real events. I found it very shocking. So I felt like saying sorry that I was indifferent.
You felt like saying sorry that you were indifferent. Was there any specific reference in the script that triggered this emotion and compelled you to apologize?
See, there's a line in the script that really bothers me, okay? And I have now seen the show a couple of times, and there was one time when there was some Kashmiri Pandits sitting in the row that I was sitting, just behind me, in fact, and they started applauding when that line came. And the line is this, this is something Dada Mitunda actually says, he says that, Kashmiri Pandit ne kabhi banduk nahi utaya, he says. So because, I feel we were lured into a binary that was completely false. And the binary seemed to be what the Indian army is supposed to have done, the atrocities that the Indian army is supposed to have done, or the Indian police, or the Indian state, shall we say, is supposed to have done with Kashmiri youth in the valley, particularly. And the other side being what the militants have done, or the extremists or terrorists, whatever term you want to use, because I have no patience anymore with labels. What they did to the Kashmiri Pandits. As though there were two sides, and one of the sides was the Indian army or the Indian state put together. The other side is the militant cause, of the cause of Azadi Kashmir. As they were the only two sides. But the victims in this case that we are talking about, somebody said there were other victims too, that it was not just Kashmiri Pandits who suffered, but moderate Muslims and innocent Muslims also have died. That is true, but this is a story about Kashmiri Pandits. They are victims. The point is, why were they attacked? What is the logic behind that? Okay, somebody say A attacks B, B attacks C. What does that even mean? What kind of logic is that? And I felt struck that such a simple thing did not occur to me, or anyone, I feel, for that matter. I'm ashamed to tell you, we also, we were convinced by this narrative that there was a small threat and Kashmiri Pandits ran away from there. And you see, that was the case. So.
Well, I'm glad that someone like you has come out and made this apology, and it should inspire others. Now, Mr. Belawadi, the fundamental problem is that this has been a massive conspiracy of silence. And do you believe today that there are others who also, owe an apology?
I think it's too late for just an apology now. I think we'll have to see from where we are sitting now that the first step was, was the removal of 35A that gave a kind of license, unparliamentary license, in fact, for Kashmir to have a separate constitution. So, I think the removal of 35A by taking back the provision of Article 370 from there was step one. Step two, I would say, was the way the public have received this film, because I think suddenly a moment has come when the Indian public, by and large, are willing to embrace this exposition by Vivek Agnihotri, who must get primary credit, for actually doing this, because he went about it like it was his mission. And now everybody knows it. You can no longer put this away. There'll be all kinds of reactions to it. People will try to make it a Hindu-Muslim binary. They'll try to make it a BJP versus other binary. They'll make it a Sangh Parivar versus the rest of Indian plurality. All kinds of will happen. But I think this is the second step, because it's an awakening into this event. The third logical step needs to be to whether we will see the Pandits themselves will be encouraged to return, or when they'll return, when that will happen, we don't know. But the third step that we must face now is that the 700 or 900 families that have been forced to flee, the property they lost, and if that cannot be given back to them, it should be given back to them with a penalty levied on whoever did this to them. The state should own this responsibility and give them property with enhancement that is due to them, back to them with khatas or whatever documents they need for it. And it's up to whether to go back or to sell it or do what with it. And it's the responsibility of the Indian state now to protect these people with their property.
It was interesting because you referred to this sort of whataboutery that has been going on for such a long time over this issue, and the binary that, Congress party always injects, that there are many victims to this. This is what you were saying. How do you respond to this now that you hear it after having actually lived on celluloid this entire ghastly, ghoulish genocide?
No, I think we have to, you have to unpack these labels. Let's say we'll unpack whataboutery. I think, it's important to ask what about, if there is a state or there's an authority that applies a rule unequally, then you must say what about. It's completely legitimate sometimes to do whataboutery. Okay, I think if you treat one person in one way and another person in the room in another way, so let's say discrimination in the classroom by caste or religion, I think it is wrong. So I think what about is very good to ask when it is right to ask it. Two, the word propaganda. See, supposing you want to make, make everybody vaccinated, against COVID-19, for instance, I think it is to persuade people to get vaccinated. The government must undertake propaganda, and it may be the responsibility of media to actually do this propaganda, because sometimes propaganda is necessary, certainly to propagate the truth. propaganda is necessary. So I think we must unpack labels. We should not make it simple anymore. So we should ask, what do you mean? Don't use a label, use a language from the street and, which is simple, and tell us, what do you mean when you say these things? So I think specifically to the Congress's charges, that the movie has not covered everything. No, it has not covered everything. Actually, it's not said enough also. It's not said enough about what happened to the, they were not just killed, they were also raped and killed. The rape is not shown in the film, for instance. So I think the movie doesn't do enough. This is what the filmmaker has done. I think, you must have supporters from your side. I think a lot of supporting filmmakers are there from your side, and it's for them to actually fulfill that side of the story maybe. And I think anybody who's been murdered, anybody who's been raped, anybody who's been deprived of their property, anybody who's got injury on their person or to their family is a victim. And I think you should stop saying, the law does not apply. Section 302 or section 376 does not apply according to religion. It applies equally to everybody. So I think the Truth and Reconciliation Commission should actually go into every charge. And I think the Congress should participate, and contribute to this so that everybody gets justice. They're right, they should actually look after their people. Let the filmmaker look after his interests. Let the Congress party and the BJP party, or indeed the Sangh Parivar and the left, everybody look after who they care.
Okay, well, we leave it at that. Mr. Belawadi, this has been wonderful speaking to you. Of course, the film will lead to catharsis, but not closure. Viewers, you may not know this, but there's not even been one commission of inquiry that has been set up on this genocide. Commissions of inquiry in this country are set up on deciding the emoluments of MLAs and MPs, but not on a genocide. Now, how wrong is that? And therefore, viewers, we're asking, the time has come to reopen the Kashmir Files. I leave it at that.